Now, this is almost a response to my last video of where I criticised, well, I went on to say about my feelings about Sea Shepherd. But one thing that people criticise me for is that I'm not for environmentalism. I am for environmentalism because we should protect the planet. We should keep an eye on pollution. The problem I have with groups like Sea Shepherd is that they start to exploit these feelings. They come in, they take, a bunch of, heart-rending pictures of, animals suffering and that, and then they come back and then they try to sell it. Give us money. Look at what we're trying to do. There are many government organisations that do regulation, and Greenpeace. I don't like them completely, but I have to agree some of the things that they have done, some of the things they have been successful with, I agree with. I also think we should try to go for sustainability. A lot of the things that people have said on the last video was the bluefin tuna. Well, the bluefin tuna is heavily regulated, and if you care to have a look at their last campaign, a lot of the nets and things they were after that said they were illegal, they weren't. They were fully legal operations, that they had no right to tamper with them. So that's where it becomes, extremism comes into it, and that's the problem that I have, is when the extremism comes into it. Now, just down from where I live, there's a deer farm. Now, it must have been the early 2000s when it happened, but I think it was the ALF that did it. And they came in and tried to set the deer free. Now, this is what happened. When they tried to set the deer free, they panicked the deer so much that half of them died of shock and basically had heart attacks because they didn't know what was going on. So, and then that was like half, I think it was about half the, I don't know what you call, a herd of deer now? Yeah, a herd. Died. Just because, some people thought, oh, you can't eat meat, how dare you do this to these, deer. We've been eating animals since the beginning of time, and since we've discovered tools. And it's only been in what? Must have been the 60s where this started. And yet, again, it's being exploited by people who have gone on the extreme path to this is how it should be. Again, if Paul Watson ever came up against someone who had actually done something illegal, first of all, he has no power. He has no power at all to actually arrest someone. In fact, if he got on their boat, they'd have the power to arrest him for piracy. In fact, the reason why he's being arrested is for that reason. So that's my thought on the extreme environmentalist. Again, I'm for environment. I'm not for animal rights. I'm for animal welfare, which is an entirely different thing concerning to animal rights. And yes, we should protect the environment. Yes, we should regulate it. I think this is an area where the government should be involved, as well as the industry itself. But I don't think they should be too involved within the industry itself, well, within the regulation itself. Ultimately, it should come down to, over in the UK with the Environmental Protection Agency. So maybe we should give them more powers. I think the EPA, I think it is, in America, maybe should give them more powers, basically. It may solve the problem. A lot of people who are Americans are going to be watching this say, how dare you give the government more power? That might be the only way to actually solve an environmental issue, because apparently, the industry's not up on the fact that to regulate themselves, so maybe the government should do it for them, remember? So that's my thought of the reply of where I sort of stand on the issue.